Hello, everyone, and welcome to the meeting, the Middleborough Community Meeting on South Coast Rail. We are going to wait a few minutes and let people begin to sign in, and then we will start our presentation. So welcome, and please be patient as we wait for residents and participants to join us. Welcome, and we are waiting a few minutes to let people sign in and join us. So we'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. Okay. Hello, everyone. Again, we're just going to wait a minute or two more. I see people continue to join us, so we'll start in another minute or two. Thank you. Well, it's 6:04, and I think everyone should be rewarded for being prompt. So thank you. Thanks so much for joining us for this preparation of information on construction starting in the Middleborough area for South Coast Rail. My name is Nancy Farrell. I'm a member of the project team, and I'll be moderating the meeting this evening. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the Middleborough Stakeholder Working Group who have been working with us for a couple of years to prepare for the work starting this year. And let me just read that list to make sure I get everyone in and thank them. Our town manager, Robert Nunes, Selectman Leilani Dalpe, Selectman Arthur Battistini, Planning Board member Jack Healy, Town Planner Leanne Bradley, and Director of Economic and Community Development Janice Ackerstrom. I see that Representative Orrell has already also joined us, and we'll keep an eye out for other elected officials who may join the meeting this evening. First, a couple of little bit of information about how the meeting will operate. It is being recorded, and the purpose of the recording is so that we can post it on the website so that people who possibly couldn't make this meeting will be able to watch it afterwards and provide their own questions and comments. All the attendees will be muted so that we don't hear background noise. And at the end of the presentation, we'll open the meeting up for comments and questions. If you would like to share a comment or ask a question, you can use the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of the screen. We ask you to submit only one question at a time. If you want to wait, you can use the raise hand feature to ask a question when we reach the end of the meeting, and you will be recognized and we will unmute you so you can ask your question. Those who might be joining by phone can raise a hand by pressing star and then 9. So it would be star 9. We would ask you to hold off your questions until the presentation is complete. But if you get impatient, don't worry, we won't answer them till the end. Let's see. If you're interested in the closed captioning, at the bottom of the screen, there is a little box that you can check and you will be able to see the closed captioning. And with that, I think I'm going to introduce the team members who will be presenting or talking with you this night. We also have a few people who will join us later to answer specific questions related to construction or whatever you're interested in. First, Jennifer Tabakin, Program Director. Jean Fox, Director of Community Engagement. Bob Campbell, Director of Design Administration. Kim Dobaz, Director of Construction. Holly Palmgren, Manager of Environmental Construction. And Mike Stiller, who's a licensed site professional. You can see it takes a lot of people to build a railroad. So Jean Fox is, here's the Q&A. If you have any technical issues during the meeting and you're having a problem getting the presentation or getting in, you can call this number, 508-443-4045. Again, we will post this slide again at the end of the presentation, which will probably take 25 or 30 minutes so that you can refresh your memory about how to participate in the Q&A. And with that, I think, Jean, we're ready to jump into the presentation. Jean Fox is our Director of Community Engagement. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen or know her. And Jean's going to start us off this evening. Jean?
Thank you, Nancy. This is really exciting to finally be giving a nice public meeting for the town of Middleborough when all this activity is just launching, and a lot of activity will be going on over the next few years. It's an exciting project. It means a lot for the region. And I want to first provide you with an update on where we are with the phase one. We do plan to have service up and running by the end of 2023. Our project's fully funded in the capital investment plan. So the Fall River construction contract was awarded to Skanska DW White, which is a joint venture, for nearly $159 million. That's just the Fall River line. The larger New Bedford Mainline, Middleborough secondary and systems contract was awarded to the joint venture of South Coast Rail Constructors in the amount of $403.5 million. And that joint venture is comprised of Middlesex Corporation and Tudor Perini. Construction is underway on both lines right now. Next. The map shows you exactly what our route is. So the southern triangle is what we refer to as the area from roughly where the East Taunton Station is down to Fall River and New Bedford. It's common to the full build, but with the exception of the Middleborough secondary line, that's that east-west line that connects between the East Taunton Station and the Middleborough Station. The map on the right also shows you very clearly where the stations and layover facilities are proposed and where actually work is underway at several of them right now. Next. So the New Bedford Mainline Middleborough secondary and systems contract is comprised of 27 miles of track. It includes the 4 new stations, the Middleborough Station, East Taunton Station, Church Street Station, and New Bedford Station. There's a layover at Wamsutta in New Bedford. We'll also see 18 grade crossings get improved, 11 culverts, and the systems and infrastructure for the entire phase 1 project. This rendering here shows you roughly what we will be proposing for the Middleborough Station. It's a platform, a parking lot, some canopies, and we'll go into detail in a little bit. Next, please. So the first visible steps in construction, tree clearing and survey along the right-of-way for construction and operation is underway. Work along the right-of-way, including moving some soil, some environmental protection and site prep is underway. The delivery of turnouts and supplies at the Middleborough layover station has been happening. You'll see typical hours of construction running from about 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. All contractors must comply with health and safety regulations with respect to COVID-19. Next. I believe, Holly, you're on.
I am. Thanks, Jean. Again, Nancy introduced me. I'm Holly Palmgren, Manager of Environmental for this project. As many of you know who have been following this project, we have a bunch of environmental approvals and permits for the project. We do have a Conservation Commission permit with Middleborough. We also have permits with DEP and Army Corps for work in and around wetland resources. Some of the things that those permits require are the installation of erosion controls. And as Jean had mentioned, some of the early construction work is the clearing. So that happens first, and then the erosion controls get put in as approved on those permit plans. Those erosion controls are inspected by us, by DP, as well as the local Conservation Commission to ensure they're in good working condition. We also have protective fencing that's installed around species areas and cultural resource areas, which are not necessarily Middleborough. This sort of covers the entire project. There are other locations along the project where those are in place. The SWIP, which if you're not an environmental person, that probably doesn't mean anything, but it's the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. It's required for the project, and it basically shows all of the measures that the contractor is going to be taking and best management practices to ensure that there is not erosion off the project. So it includes erosion controls as well as other measures that they take. Other things that we do during construction for any culvert replacements, they're approved bypass dewatering plans for that work. We also have RAM plans in place, and those are for work at known hazardous material sites. Again, not specific to Middleborough, we do have them on other places in the project. I did already reach out to the Conservation Commission about setting up a site visit once the erosion controls are in place. And in order to get on the right-of-way, there will be training required, right-of-way training through Mass Coastal. So we are working with them to arrange that. So once those erosion controls are up, we can get out there for site visits. So again, the erosion controls are out where the permits are required, but we also have them at other locations like Middleborough Station, and those are there for erosion control, but not necessarily part of a wetlands permit. So I think the next slide is not me, so I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Dobaz. I am the Director of Construction for South Coast Rail. So a little bit of what you can expect coming along the line here during construction. We will continue to prepare the station and layover sites. So anyone that is in the vicinity of the Pilgrim Y, you can see that we've already mobilized to that site, as Holly was mentioning. There's erosion controls going out. There's also special track work has been stored in that location. So, and we've also started clearing trees. Other work that we're going to be doing coming up soon will be, we're going to be driving sheet piles and installing sheet and soldier pile walls. And that's right along the right-of-way. Something else that's required on both of our contracts is pre-construction pest and rodent control management. So that is something that's already ongoing. Throughout the project, dust control, monitoring, and management is required. That consists of using water trucks, poly on stockpiles, application of hydroseed and other stabilizers. And then we have a note here that you know, people are going to ask, I'm sure, what are the typical work hours? Right now, it's generally daytime. There is going to be work that is going to require round-the-clock work. Round-the-clock shifts, and we do that so that we, in the case of grade crossings, we don't disrupt communities weekend after weekend. Everybody says, you know, why can't you just do this during the day? We could, but then it would extend the work. So what we do for grade crossing reconstructions is we shut down generally on a Thursday or Friday evening, and then by Monday morning, we're done. So it's one painful weekend. And the good news here in Middleborough, we only have one, and it is right in the vicinity of the station area itself. And here, Jean, I don't know, Nancy, if I'm the speaker, but I can
back to Jean.
Take this and pass it back to Jean.
Yep.
Okay, I'm back. Here's the station rendering, as I mentioned. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is a schematic that shows you the actual layout. If you look up at the Route 28 side, that's going to be a pedestrian only access from Route 28. Our driveway will actually come off 495 onto 105 and into the driveway. You'll see we have the kiss and ride. We have a transition plaza where you can do drop off pickup, where people will land to access the platform area. It shows the parking area and the access points, including the very important bus drop off. We have been working with GATRA on how to make sure we can get people in and out of the station so that connectivity doesn't go away. Next, please. So again, the driveway entrance is from 105. It will come right off 495 for that highway access. We have parking capacity for 500 vehicles. We have electric vehicle and accessible parking spots. The bus drop off and place for accessible, if people need accessible drop off, is also included. There's bike storage, and we have an accessible ramp to a new pedestrian crossing on Route 28. Next. So we are doing some traffic improvements in and around the major intersection there. We are employing an adaptive traffic control system, so that will coordinate the signals at 4 key intersections that are on Route 105. There'll be some new signage and striping at the intersection of 28 and 105. And then we're also proposing, or actually going to implement, new pedestrian access improvements. There'll be a signal beacon to help pedestrians safely cross, particularly there on Route 28. Next. This is going to show you some of the basic traffic related improvements. You'll see where the station is, the hawk signals, a big pedestrian safety signal system on 28. We're also doing some other intersection improvements, the adaptive signaling, a new traffic signal, and we're going to modify some of the existing ones. And that's about it for this one. If we could go to the next, please. Okay, here's an example of a hawk pedestrian crossing. It's a very effective tool. It's stopping traffic so people can cross the street. And we expect that when, that with peak periods, we'll have substantial pedestrian traffic. So we want to make sure they get across safely. Next. Middleborough meetings, we have been, Nancy mentioned the stakeholder group. It has been an excellent vehicle for making sure that our communication with the town and with MassDOT and the MBTA is consistent and accurate. We have also funded a peer review study of traffic and water protection zone issues. We've updated traffic study info. So we've done an awful lot of interacting with the town officials, town committees and boards to make sure that we're constantly keeping everyone current on the progress and being able to address concerns in a timely manner. Next slide, please. So just a list of some of the investments already made. We did back in FY15, $8,000 for an open space and recreation plan as part of our technical assistance program. There was about 1.3 from MassDOT to improve the Rotary. We conducted a number of visioning sessions with the planning board during the planning and design phases. And ongoing, you'll hear later, the technical assistance funding of $30,000 for zoning update, Chapter 40R, managed by Serped, is underway. And I think in the next one, I'm going to go back to Kim. Yes, I'm turning it over to Kim Dobaz.
Okay, thank you, Jean. So this is work we have ongoing recently along the right-of-way. In the left-hand photo, you can see that they're doing clearing and grubbing. And down at the right, again, I talked about site clearing. That is Middleborough Station. It looks like a track work panel in the foreground. So just typical right now, just moving to the site and prepping the right-of-way for the future construction that'll be, really getting underway this spring. And next slide. Do you want me to keep going here, Jean? Okay, sorry. So on the left-hand photo, that's a photo of a high rail truck on the right of way, and it's a sample of, Ollie, help me, my eyes are getting, I think those are compost filter tubes. So that looks like erosion control down the embankment getting installed. And again, some more clearing and grubbing that's been ongoing at the Middleborough station site. This looks like it's Campanelli or Freetown Station, but that is a photo of, that's not the contractor that's going to be working in Middleborough. That's the first contract that we let, and that is what's called a continuously welded rail train. So the new rail that we're bringing in to replace all the existing rail that comes in by rail, and those are actually, that's about it's over 1,600 feet long, that train. So the first contractor did receive all of their rail back in December. Right in the middle of one of those snowstorms, so.
Okay, I'm back. I'm very excited to share with you that while we have an aggressive schedule, we believe it's a doable schedule. We would ask for your patience if anything slides just a little bit, but we have done, I think, a superlative job of keeping things on track, if you'll pardon the pun. So again, you can see our major constructions are out there. Those contracts are out. Work is underway. You'll see a lot of activity over the next couple of years. And then by the end of 2023, hopefully we'll see service implementation actually happen. It's an exciting time for all of us on the South Coast Rail Project. We've waited 30 years to get here, but we're here and we're building, and I know that we have a very bright future. Next slide. Oh yes, this is so important. We do updates on a weekly basis that provide a brief synopsis of the work that's going on, where it's going to be, when it's going to be, what it's going to be. And even if it doesn't pertain to you and your neighborhood immediately, it will be of interest to you. So I strongly encourage you to sign up for these updates. And we'll give you the address too at the end, but they're not heavy lifts, but it will give you a little bit of advance notification for anything such as a traffic detour perhaps, or Kim mentioned the overnight work on a grade crossing. Sometimes that can lead to detours, and you need to understand when that's coming so you can plan accordingly. And with that, I believe I'm going to be turning this over to Eric Arbini of SERPED.
Thank you, Jean, and everybody here. My name is Eric Arbini. I'm a Principal Comprehensive Planner with SERPED, Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District. We're the regional planning agency for the area. And the town reached out to SERPED, again, we're the regional planning agency for the area, for the region, including Middleborough, to look at planning around the rail. And a part of that, as Jean mentioned, was Chapter 40R zoning. So Chapter 40R zoning is an optional, program that the state has to encourage communities to create zoning districts that encourage compact mixed-use developments that have an affordability component that are typically located near public transportation or town centers. So in the case of Middleborough, it would be transportation. As you can see to the right, the John Glass Square subdistrict and what we call the Middleborough subdistrict are both within a mile. We have the next few slides, we have some maps where you can kind of see, and I can kind of explain where it is. So the Chapter 40R, again, it's an optional program that the state has. It's been out since 2004. There are about 40 communities have adopted it. Locally, Lakeville has adopted it. Easton is another one. Rochester's going through the process now. So the benefits of a 40R district are that as part of adopting zoning and locating it in certain places in town that the town desires, there are financial incentives. Once the zoning is approved, it has to go through a process through the Department of Housing and Community Development that oversees the process. It ultimately has to be adopted at town meeting, but there are financial incentives for adopting and creating and constructing housing. As you can see, there are financial incentives. The characteristics, it allows higher density housing as of right. It depends on what it is. In the John Glass Square subdistrict, which I'll explain in a few minutes, it's about 8 units an acre. And the Middleborough subdistrict, which is the area around the train station, would allow 20 units an acre. 20% of the housing must be affordable, although it's recommended 25% of the housing would be affordable. That way it would go on the town's subsidized housing inventory. All the units would count towards reaching the 10% goal per 40B. And also as another incentive, the state allows communities to develop design guidelines for this program. So in terms of what we've done, what we've worked with Middleborough on is developing a bylaw as well as a set of design guidelines to show what the construction would look like. I should note that, sometimes it gets confused with transit-oriented development, 40R. This is very similar to a transit-oriented development. Higher density housing, it's pedestrian friendly. It allows for a mix of uses. It's not necessarily just residential. And mixed use component, mixed use would be a building with apartments or condominiums up top, and then on the first floor there would be retail, commercial services, that sort of thing. The only difference is with this, there's the financial incentives from the state, depending on how large the district is. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, it's an overlay district, which means it lays on top of the existing zoning district. It allows the uses under the base zoning. So we have here is a John Glass Square, which used to be called Everett Square for some folks in the area. And you can see it's Station Street. You can see on that map, it's the area outlined in black. So it gives property owners how they can develop it under the existing zoning. And there it's a combination of general use, business, and residence B, depending on what zone you are. People who own the property could develop under that or the 40R. It's either or. They can choose either or. They're not required to develop under the 40R district. So what's allowed under the John Glass Square subdistrict, or what's proposed to be allowed, it's higher density uses, 8 units an acre. Housing, excuse me, and non-residential uses, retail, office, service, institutional. As you can see, what also is allowed there, if it's in the Residence B district, it allows single family housing as of right, and there's other residential uses that require a special permit. In the areas that are zoned general use, the uses as of right are allowed there. There's many uses allowed under a general use district. Hotel, motel, restaurants, medical clinics, banks, movie theaters, hospitals, that sort of thing. And in the business district, whatever's allowed as of right in the business district is allowed as of right. This is just a way of adding additional option if the property owners wish to take advantage of this and develop under the 40R zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. The other area is right around the train station, as you can see. It's actually split by one of the rails, and it's right across from when you get off of 495, right on 105 there. And this would allow higher density housing. This would be at 20 units an acre. Again, it's the same thing. It's an overlay district. It's optional. And folks could develop under that or under the general use. All this area is in the general use district, so they could allow, again, what we've talked about before, funeral home, fast food restaurant, medical uses, manufacturing, distribution, contractor yards, all that's allowed, and all that will still be allowed. This 40R allows the additional option to develop higher density residential housing or select non-residential uses, retail, restaurants, services, that sort of thing. Next slide, please. So the process and timeline. Right now, there was the SERP had worked with the planning board over the past year to develop a draft bylaw and draft design guidelines. And that has been sent to the Department of Housing and Community Development for review, which takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days. There was also a public hearing held by the Board of Selectmen. As you can see on there, the Middleborough is in the middle there, the 60 to 90 day review. DHCD would come back, they'll look at the application and the proposed bylaw and design guidelines, and they would either give a conditional approval or they would say some changes need to be made. I should note that this in any way does not bind the town to this district. It still has to go through the local process. There'll still be a planning board public hearing. It still has to go to town meeting. So this is no way, shape or form completed. It still has to go through the normal processes as any zoning bylaw would. So yeah, there'll still be a public hearing that'll happen. Serped has agreed, is happy to have another listening session similar to this, but just be about the 40R process and the other zoning process that my colleague Jed Cornock will describe. And we can, answer additional questions. We also have a 40R website that is up where you can see the draft bylaw. You can zone in on the areas and look at, which properties are in there. So based on this timeline, it wouldn't be at the Springtown meeting. It would most likely be at the Fall Town meeting, which I believe is in October. So there are other considerations that I've described the option of a 40R. So there's impacts to schools, obviously. It may result in an increase in school-age children. There is additional state funding through the Chapter 40S program, which looks at reimburses community for the additional costs of students as a result of a 40R program. And there's also municipal water and sewer infrastructure issues, water capacity, infrastructure, and administrative issues that would need to be looked at. So those need to be reviewed. It's a process. This is the first step in the process. And again, it still needs to go through the local process. We hope to hear back from DHCD 60 to 90 days, probably be about mid to late April. And then ideally we'd have another public listening session sometime May or June, answer people's questions, get into more detail. And hopefully it's in person, but it might be via Zoom based on the current COVID situation. But myself, Serped, as well as the planning department here, I'm more than happy to answer any questions, which I'm sure there will be afterwards. I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Jed Cornock, who's going to describe another effort that Serped's working with the town on planning around the rail.
Thanks, Eric. For the record, my name is Jed Cornock, Principal Comprehensive Planner with Serped. And as Jean mentioned, this project was funded by South Coast Rail Technical Assistance. And this particular item is a two-part project. And as you can see on the slide on the left-hand side, the zoning district change is part one. And so the town has hired us to look into the possibility of changing this Residence B, which you can see on the map indicated in the dashed outline, to general use with a historic flavor, if you will. And what does that mean? That means changing it over and eliminating the Residence B, but allowing additional commercial use. But being sensitive to the current historical homes that are not only nearby down on South Main Street, but also within that particular RB district. The exact particulars of that haven't been worked out, meaning the exact uses that would be allowed. But in terms of additional things that would be put into that bylaw would be design standards. So again, it would be not allowing or allowing uses that would complement the existing surroundings. Part two of that project is expanding your site plan review. And for those of you who don't know what site plan review is, it's essentially as you can see on the slide, it's a more intensive community review over as of right uses, which are typically non-residential. That isn't to say that this new bylaw wouldn't include residential uses, but that's typically what site plan review covers. So it's anything that essentially does not fall under a special permit process. So in your current bylaw, your zoning bylaw, site plan review only covers non-residential properties in your business district, which is your downtown section of town. And in this proposal, it would cover all zoning districts in the community. And again, the specifics are yet to be determined on exactly what would trigger that site plan review. But again, the the basic gist here is that when an applicant comes before the planning board for a certain type of development, they would have to produce site plans, go through a bit more of an extensive process of review of their application before receiving a permit. So in essence, that's the two-part general use historic South Coast Rail Technical Assistance Project. And I just want to mention really quickly, Eric did make notice of the web page that we have for the 40R project. It's just serpent.org/Middleborough-40R. There's a public comment card there. If you want to send us a comment or ask any questions, there's ways to do that. That's all I have. I'll pass it back to Jean.
Jean.
Sorry, I lost trouble with mute sometimes. We do want to advise you that we have a hotline. So if you have an issue that comes up or a concern with respect to this construction, please do call the hotline at 774-762-7000. It's typically answered Monday through Friday between 7 and 3:30. Anything that comes in after those hours, we'll follow up on the very next day. We do respond to each and every issue that is raised. The team is available to meet with residents, businesses, elected officials during construction to discuss issues and update anyone. That invitation is open to anyone, and please do feel free to reach out to us. Next. So here we go. This is what I mentioned at the beginning. We would love it if you would sign up for updates on the construction. We think you're going to find them very, very helpful. So that's at mass.gov/southcoastrail. And do participate in any future meetings. We're looking forward to having additional meetings. We love the input and the feedback that we receive from people. As construction continues, it's actually important to hear from folks. Any comments can be emailed at southcoastrail@dot.state.ma.us. And again, that construction hotline number is 774-762-7000. Next, I believe it's Nancy.
And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for your patience. We do have a few elected officials with us, and I wanted to invite, excuse me, Chair of the Select Board, Leilani Dalby, if she'd like to make a few remarks. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank all the people that are attending tonight, especially the residents, so they get a chance to get their questions answered. As the South Coast Rail team has already mentioned, we have been meeting with a stakeholders group with them monthly. They have come into a Board of Selectmen meeting and a joint Board of Selectmen planning meeting, and we've gone over a lot of issues. As everybody knows from the beginning, this project, we've all gotten off on a bad foot. We've not been on the same page. We've tried to open dialogue, and now that we're talking and having these meetings, the town has expressed 3 subjects or concerns that we are working on with the South Coast Rail. One is the safety and public health, which I think has been mentioned a little bit with the Hawk system. We're also concerned about the vicinity of the water supply, and we continue to bring up the WRPD regulations. The second is addressing the traffic mitigation, and there are two solutions the town has posed that we are discussing with South Coast Rail. One is to have shuttles from the parking lot that already exists in Lakeville to cut down on the traffic. And the other one is adding a satellite parking lot on the east side of 28 in the vicinity of John Glass Square. And that would do 2 things. It would split up the traffic from 105, and it would also give an economic boom to right down into downtown through John Glass Square. The third issue that we've been discussing in these meetings has been obviously increase in supporting smart economic development. And one of the biggest breakthroughs that we've actually had, and this is thanks to our representative Oral, we have come up with a plan, and we're trying to pursue this to widen the existing bridge that goes over the tracks, because if you saw that that schematic before, that map, there's a giant area of land that is landlocked within the tracks, and it's prime for development. It's 7 acres, about 7 acres of private property. It's also about 22 acres of state-owned property. And now that we finally found a way by widening the already existing crossing at the bridge, we can actually get to that land. So that's been the biggest development we've been pushing for. We think that will be quite a boom for the economic growth in Middleborough. You already saw the project for the 40R. We did get grant money, and the DOT was helpful with that through SERPED. That's pretty much what we're looking for. When we open up that bridge and that crossing, also, we are in the process of working with the DOT and the South Coast Rail team to secure funding to upgrade the infrastructure there. And of course, for planning and engineering for that project. We really think that's going to be an ideal place for transit-oriented development, and not just residential development, but we would like to see a mixed with commercial and possibly some industrial. So that's where we're at. We meet monthly, and we don't always agree. And the town keeps pushing for the 3 issues that I just mentioned that are foremost in our mind: safety, traffic mitigation, and economic development. And hopefully some of these things are going to come through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I noticed also, I think Rep. Oral and Rep. Vieira are with us. Would either one of you like to make some remarks? Rep. Oral? We will unmute you. Emily, my colleague, Emily Kristen, is in charge of unmuting.
Am I unmuted now?
You are. We can hear you, sir.
Very good. For some reason, the video's not on, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's the way this webinar works. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Want to thank you for the presentation and keeping the channels of communication open. Especially appreciate the hotline information, which I'll bring up, and there may be some residents on that will have the same concern, but I have been contacted about some night work that's been going on. And that was one of the questions I posted. Apparently with the clearing and grubbing, there's been some work at night. And I wanted to just check on that because it has been very disruptive to the neighborhood in the area. And so if you could explain maybe why that's happening, and if it has to happen, when will it end? But more or less, the request is that it sounded like you addressed is that we would do as much work as possible during the normal day hours. So if you could address that, that would be great. And then, yeah, we continue to look at the economic development opportunities that are with the station moving slightly from where it is now in the Middleborough. Excited to see, work that's going on that stretch of road now with the new bank. The gas station had been closed for years, is now open again. And, to see activity there, to hopefully, as that's one of the gateways to Middleborough, we want to just continue to promote that as a place for people to shop or spend the money in town, maybe get off the highway or get off the train from out of town, spend a little money, and help the development and the tax base of Middleborough. So we continue to look forward to that, and thank you to SERPED, who's had a great presentation tonight. Their work is instrumental to seeing that happen, and we just look forward to all work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Oral, I saw your question, and we did get that issue in an email today, and it is not South Coast Rail. And Jean, do you want to jump in and address this?
Sure.
Going to jump, Jean, or I just double checked with my Rep. Oral. I was going to say it's nice to see you again, but I can't see you. So I don't know if you remember me from, I think it was Berkeley, but
Sure do.
Good to hear your voice. I want to assure all the residents that we're not making this up. We are not working. We are working 7 to 3:30 for clearing and grubbing right now. So we are not working nights. Once we get out of the station area, actually, I think we're done with the station area. We'll be working daylight hours once we're out on the right of way. So we'll be working later, but we are absolutely not working nights right now. So
okay,
anybody Go ahead, sir.
Oh, so that may have been some other work on private property or adjacent somewhere in the neighborhood.
Actually, we did some inquiring. I reached out to Highway, I reached out to everybody. It most likely is, though this has not yet been confirmed, the freight trains coupling and uncoupling, which they do very early in the morning. So if this is occurring around 4 a.m., it sounds like that's what it could be. I do have a request in to the freight folks to see if that's what it could be.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for the follow-up and appreciate. I'm actually glad to hear it wasn't you folks, because then we can all keep moving forward.
Yeah, we don't like to be in that position. Thank you.
We will give at least 2 weeks advance notice on our e-blasts. And Jean, I don't know if you said they come out on Tuesdays, so we try to give everybody a 2-week look ahead, and we'd give you at least 2 weeks advance notice, if not more, when we're going to switch to nights. But not right now, not this winter, for sure.
Great. Representative Vieira, did you want to join us? If you raise your hand, it'll be easier to find you. There you are.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. I'm participating tonight, as well as the new representative, Stephen Exaros, representing the town of Bourne, because part of the South Coast Rail project is a exploratory study for the town of Bourne to connect into South Coast Rail. And they're studying that now, and the town of Bourne has voted to enter the Mbta service district. So I've been following the project. You're doing great with the emails. I get your construction emails to see sort of expectations of what you all are going through with the construction work there for the new station, which hopefully will be the transfer point for a feeder to Cape Cod. And then very interested in following your planning and development around the station. So that's why I'm here, just trying to learn more about what you're all experiencing in Middleborough, and prepare to have the type of information necessary for Bourne and Cape Cod to be able to connect to South Coast Rail.
Thank you, sir. I know that there's a representative here of Senator Pacheco's office, Mary, and Mary, I don't know how to spell your last name, but if you'd like to check in with us, you could raise your hand. There you are. Mary, raise your hand if you'd like to. Senator Pacheco there? Senator, would you like to make some remarks? I'm going to unmute you, sir, if you want to. Oh, we'll come back to you. I'm not hearing you at the moment. Are there any other elected officials there who you could raise your hand and we can recognize you? No? All right. I'm going to start with a couple of the questions in the Q&A at this point. Hold on. Mike Solomini asked, with the pandemic impacting all Mbta ridership revenues, is the funding for this project secure? And I think, Jean, that's an answer you like to give.
I do like to give, because the funding is secure. We're not MBTA funds, we're state funds, and they are put aside uniquely for this project, have been, and can't be touched for anything else. But it's an absolutely extremely reasonable question, given the news, the media coverage of the funding issues that the MBTA is currently encountering.
Thank you, Jean. If you ask multiple questions, I'm going to pick the first one you posed. And Alan Frawley asked, what will the traffic intersections be rated after the mitigation? I'm not sure we have all that detail with us this evening. And some of the information is posted on the town's website and on South Coast Rail's website, unless there's anyone here on this team who has the information. Nope. All right, Alan, we will get back to you on that one. I think we've had that discussion before and we'll follow it up. Let's see. Karen Snyder, when will this Zoom recording be available on the website? Karen, we do our best to put it up the following day. Sometimes the MBTA folks who manage the website are awfully busy, but it will be probably within the next 48 hours. And Alan Melchior, can you say more about the improved traffic controls on Route 105? How will they handle the increased rush hour traffic? Also, do the traffic plans take into consideration the planned development of the Lakeville Hospital as a major warehouse and commercial development? I believe I can answer the second one, which is yes. The answer is yes. The traffic study does take into consideration the development of the Lakeville Hospital. We've provided a memo to the select board on that issue. And so it does not appear that it's going to have much of an impact at all. Improved traffic controls on Route 105. Is there, I don't know, we showed a diagram with some of the, someone can speak to this better than I can, but the coordination of the traffic lights and the addition and the traffic study itself showed that a lot of the traffic coming into the parking lot will come off 495 or from the south and not through the town. So we can get you that data, Mr. Melchior, if you'd like to send us an email, and we'll provide you with more information. When Middleborough Station comes online, what happens to the current Lakeville Station? And Jean, I'm going to toss that one to you, I think.
Sure. The Lakeville Station will stay there. The MBTA is loath to dump project or property that they have. And it's currently serving the Cape Flyer. So for the time being, it will remain in place. It also is good overflow.
And I understand, I just heard that Mary from Senator Pacheco's office is having some trouble connecting. I'm sorry, Mary, but she wants everyone to know that Senator Pacheco's office is available for any assistance if people have any questions or any issues they'd like to discuss. So thank you, Mary, for that. I'm going to move to some of the raised hands now. Joshua, I am unmuting you. Oh, trying to.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes. Yes. I like to say it is. I'm glad that you continue to push for this South Coast Rail because I've been hoping for this to become reality since day one, and this is what the whole entire state needs, especially small businesses across the state. Especially when you also have the East-West Rail projects. And I think, it's a good idea to connect South Coast Rail and East-West Rail at South Station, because it can help, stimulate the Commonwealth's economy, as well as New England's economy, especially during the pandemic.
Great, thank you, Joshua. Thanks for that comment. Appreciate it. George S., if you looks like you have your hand up. Emily, can you unmute him?
Yep, you should be allowed to unmute yourself, George.
George, you there?
Yes,
There you go.
I am.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, I read an article in the Herald and it said that the deficit of the MBTA is going to increase by a very large amount in 2020, 21, 22, an order of magnitude. Will that affect our assessments?
That's a very complex question. The assessments are determined by legislation, and I think we can look into that. I think it's a little hard. It would be speculation, a little bit of speculation at this point, but we'll certainly look into that and see if we can't provide an answer. Arthur Battistini. See Arthur's hand up. There you go, Arthur. You can unmute yourself, Arthur.
Hello.
Hi, Arthur.
Hi. I did just want to add, for any of the residents that live in the proposed areas that could be switched to general use with the historic zoning overlay, they will get a direct mailing from the Historical Commission once we meet with SERPED and have a few ideas about how that would work and what the proposed article would be for town meeting. And then they would be invited to attend a Zoom meeting as well to discuss that.
Great, Arthur. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Donna C.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I was the resident in question that was calling, complaining about all the noise.
Oh, okay.
I live right near the rail station in a townhouse condo, and my unit is shaking during the night. I can hear the trains idling, and I was woken the other night 3 times with the horns blowing. So I am very concerned, and I don't know what I need to do. Should I go down there and try to video who's down there at the time of the noise? Because it starts about 9 o'clock at night and goes on until 6 o'clock in the morning some days, and it's horrible. I mean, I love my home, and this has really been making it hard.
We understand, and we're grateful you wrote to us this afternoon, because we've started a process of trying to figure out exactly what the noise is. It is not it is not our project. We have your email.
And do you think that sound barrier walls will be going up?
Since that may well be property that's owned by CSX or the freight operators, so that would not be MBTA property. So that's a question that would have to be posed to them.
Yeah, it's a very densely populated area here.
Yeah. We will do our best, Donna, to get back to you. And since this clearly is an important issue, we'll share it with the representatives and the town if and when we get an answer. And
that would be greatly appreciated.
Of course, yes. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank
Let's see. Selectman Nathan Damaris.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Awesome, perfect. So I know that the Lakeville station was mentioned as still being used for the Cape Flyer. I was just curious if the Lakeville station, if it's being used for overflow parking for the Middleborough station, would put in signage on 495 and 105 in Lakeville be warranted to alert commuters that, you know, the Middleborough station may be full, to use a Lakeville station instead of going to the Middleborough station, noticing it's full, then having to turn around, go back down 105, and then and then parking in the Lakeville station, and then have to shuttle back over. I mean, has there been any thought put into that?
Well, actually, we've been having discussions with the people at the MBTA who manage parking. Fortunately, we don't manage parking. It's hard enough to build a railroad. And you're right, people who are, when there's overflow parking, people are going to be late, then they might miss the shuttle, and it gets complicated. So we're connecting the town to the parking folks at the MBTA to have those discussions, because we think that's the best way for it to be done. The MBTA does operate parking lots. And so we're hopeful to have the issue addressed that way with people who are experts in it. So we've got a couple years to resolve it, and we will definitely be bringing it up with the stakeholders group. And so you'll hear more about it.
Thank you. I'm just concerned about it creating a bottleneck for the commuters trying to, you know, like you said, trying to make the train on time and having to circle back and miss the train because they weren't alerted beforehand that the station was at capacity.
Yes, I mean, I think that's one of the things that we brought up to the parking folks, you know, electronic signs. But again, we're going to hand that over to them, and they'll be having direct conversations. So, but you'll hear more about it, I'm sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's see, someone who hasn't asked a question, Tim Hazelton.
Hi. So actually just kind of piggybacking on the parking question, I guess, what is the expected parking volume of the new Middleborough facility going to be? Is it going to be equivalent or possibly a little bit larger than the current facility?
Gina, I think, is going to address that.
Yes, Tim, the actual parking is for around 500 vehicles, and that's based on ridership studies we did. It's important to note that when we did some studies about who was parking down in Lakeville, many of those folks came from points south. And they will now have additional options. So they'll be able to get on a train earlier or closer to their homes and won't be driving all the way into Middleborough. So the ridership numbers are based on that premise. But we do understand that people are always concerned about parking. That's why we're going to be continuing the dialogue with the parking folks and the town on that very issue.
Okay, yeah. If it's okay, I do have one more question.
Quick one, Tim.
Okay, just wondering, is there a current draft schedule anywhere?
Nope. So here's the deal, Tim. We're an extension of the existing Middleborough service. We're just taking it, running it along the Middleborough secondary line and taking those trains down to Fall River and New Bedford. You know, right now, speculating, I would say it would mirror that. It will be similar to what happens with the Middleborough trains right now. But all of those are subject to change based on utilization, based on a number of different factors that the T is constantly examining. So that is definitely TBD, but I think for most people, if you want to like guesstimate, you can look at what happens on the Middleborough line right now and extrapolate.
Okay, great. Joanne Boove, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name.
Thanks very much. So I'm speaking with Joanne sitting next to me, but thank you. So we live in the unit closest. So we're in the Groves, the unit closest to all of this. We're the corner unit. It is CSX. We've been out there. We know it's the freight trains that's causing all the noise when the different cars. We absolutely know it. But it has increased significantly since you took down all the trees and you cleaned that area. And, you know, I understand, you know, it's got to go forward, but it does add just another layer of just noise. The buildings rattle, the doors are loose, the back porches are sinking because they literally just shake the house. So it's, you know, I can appreciate the fact that there was a great deal of planning, I'm sure, that went into all of this, but I'm not sure that the noise was taken into account. And then once you decided to remove the rest of the trees in the area, how much more of an impact it made to the residents at the Groves in general. So want to make sure we're on, you know, record in saying that. And then there was a young lady, I believe Carol from the Groves, who spoke a little earlier about some kind of a wall, but there's got to be some consideration going forward because of the increased noise. And there's no plan for CSX to relocate that based on the commuter rail and the mixed use 40B. There's no plan for them to change.
No, that's not in my bailiwick. I don't know if anyone else on the team can answer that question. No, they own that. I believe they own that land, and let me just say politely that they are difficult to deal with. So I'm very sympathetic, but we'll continue to look into it and let you know what we find out for certain. And I'm sorry about I'm very sorry. I think, let's see, hold on, I'm just checking on.
Nancy.
Leilani, did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry.
I did. I'd like to address the two people, Donna C. and the last gentleman who's talked about the CSX trains. The town is having, I don't suspect, I've witnessed, it is CSX trains. I know what they're doing. They're doing a lot of things in town they should not be doing. The town is working very closely with the DEP and the FDA to get CSX to comply with the regulations that they're supposed to be following in order for these things not to happen. So I would ask those residents who are having problems to please call the health department and have us log your complaints, have us come down and see what happens so that we can witness it, and it will just give us more ammunition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to a few.
Excuse me, Nancy.
Yes.
Joe. Senator Pacheco had some technical issues calling in, so he's called in now.
Okay, great.
We can unmute him. And
okay, can you unmute him, Joe?
Yep.
Great. Senator?
Oop.
It's not a perfect system, folks. I don't see his hand up.
He's the number 508. Is
it's
one at the bottom
okay.
number there.
Okay, hold on.
Can you unmute?
Hold on, I'm looking. It's just always hard to find them quickly. Right here. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, I think we hear you, Senator. Welcome.
So you can hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Hallelujah. Okay.
I'm sorry you were having such difficulty.
Well, I haven't had any ability to get on traditionally with Zoom. I never have any trouble any other time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
but
that.
have tonight and haven't been able to get on, via phone until just now.
Well, here you
That's
are.
good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, just wanted to put it on the public record in terms of meeting notification. I want to make sure my office gets notified for all the future South Coast Rail meetings.
Sure. I think
other
it's
than
on our
finding
list
them.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was not getting them. Our office has not been getting them. We got this one, but this is the only one I've received. So we want to make sure we're on the list, in terms of, the meetings going forward, because I have a number of concerns that I would like to see the most updated detailed plans. And I would also like to know in terms of participation in the meeting, like how many people are on the meeting tonight?
70 right now.
Okay. And what is the problem with individuals being able to, like if the press wanted to take a look at it or whatever, why can't they do that? Why can't I do that with the system? We've got plenty of Zoom calls, WebEx calls, other platforms where we have total availability and visibility, and we're not able to do that with this one.
I don't understand why. I mean, I have a lot of people who've already asked questions, participated, so it may just be a quirk in your email. The press could be on here. The press has been on here in the past. We have other elected.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I'm not talking about my system. I'm talking about the way the way the system is set up. For example, everybody is not visible to you, right? I mean, is everybody on? Can they see each other?
No, it's called it's the Zoom webinar program, and that's how it works. It does not when someone's speaking, their image shows up, but it would be impossible to allow everyone to talk all at once, Senator. So this is how this program works.
I understand that. I'm not unfamiliar with the technology. I'm using it every single day. I'm just saying there are other platforms which it seems like it would be a lot more convenient to all the participants and users in the system. And we're using them all the time, relative to Teams, traditional Zoom webinar. I've been on all of them, and I haven't seen the restrictions that are on this, the way the platform is being utilized tonight. Anyway, question relative to the Middleborough junction and the line going down the Cape. As the way it was designed originally, I just wanted to see what's happening relative to regular use, estimated uses on the South Coast Rail to Fall River to Bedford, and what happens when there's a line going to the Cape?
Well, there is a group which is looking at that issue, is looking at the issue of traveling to the Cape. They had a public meeting, I think, not too long ago. I wasn't involved with it. I don't know if any of our, Jean, if you know any more about that, then no. No, I think we could probably connect you with that group, Senator. But the Capes, as I understand the Cape line, it would not be like a commuter rail line. It would be well, unless it's going to be a full commuter rail line. Again, I don't think we can answer that question tonight for you. We could connect you with the folks who are looking at it.
Well, I mean, ever since the proposal was made, we've been asking this question because it's my understanding that it can't be a commuter rail line. Because if it does, then it messes up all the line going from Middleborough north. So, and yet the hope is out there for everyone on the Cape, south of the junction, that it is a commuter rail line. And in fact, it's been articulated that way from time to time by the administration. So I would hope that we get that straightened out so that constituents and people all along the South Coast Corridor and, Cape residents understand what this line is doing and what it is not doing. Because as I understand the engineering around it, that it couldn't possibly be a commuter rail line. It could only operate on, very few hours of the day, if at all, because of the corridor from Middleborough north.
Yes.
So that needs to be explained and articulated for everyone so that they have a fuller and better understanding about what the possibilities are and are not.
And we can connect you to the group that is doing that study. Regret that we just don't have anyone on the call tonight who can answer the question, but I promise we'll follow up and get the contact to your office.
Great. All right. I thank you very much. And
sorry you had trouble.
We also have all the requests from abutters that are in the. Could you just go over the shuttle piece again? What you were talking about relative to that?
Well,
I could only hear it off and on.
Oh, okay.
Because it was
sorry.
coming in and out.
The folks who build the railroad aren't the ones who are going to be operating the parking lot. So what we're doing is connecting the town to the folks at the MBTA who manage parking, and having some conversation and setting up those conversations so that, there can be discussions about what the options are. Right now, there will be space for 500 cars in the Middleborough lot. So, but if there's concern about more, we have a couple years to deal with that. So the town will be having some direct conversations with the parking staff at the MBTA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in the state land that's opening up that you referenced, because utilization of that land, would that not require further legislative action?
That's another question that I hate to say that we're handling some things off, but MBTA real estate is looking at some of those issues. And so, again, that's a conversation the town's going to be having directly, both with real estate and with the transit-oriented development staff at the MBTA.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Great. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it. Sorry you had a hard time.
Yep. Bye now.
Bye. I think Leilani, did you want to jump in again on this topic?
I did. It wasn't this topic.
Okay.
Alan Slavin from selectman from Wareham could
Yes.
not be here. We're tag teaming. He's at Serpent. I'm in here tonight. So I was going to bring up his question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it about any information at possible continuation of the commuter rail to Wareham. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, you
Okay.
kind of touched on that.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Tracy Craig McGee has her hand up. Hello.
Hear me?
Little hard. Can you speak up?
Okay, can you hear me?
Try it, Tracy, and we'll see if we can hear you.
Okay. I wanted to just talk about traffic on that area of 105. I use that path quite often on my way to work. I usually track it 4 times a day. I now am starting to use the rotary now that the rotary's been fixed because the traffic flow is much easier. But the concern is when you're bringing the traffic that typically stops in Lakeville into Middleborough, that intersection, the McDonald's intersection, the next one, the CVS one, the traffic gets bottlenecked under the railroad bridge, going into Lakeville and back into Middleborough sometimes, depending on the time of day. And I know you had said that you don't anticipate that the truck traffic coming from the Lakeville Hospital redevelopment is going to affect that.
Yeah.
But they're directing that traffic onto 495, and the 495 north ramps are right there at that intersection where the train station is going to have the traffic coming out. So I'm not sure how that truck traffic isn't going to affect the traffic in that area. I'd like to get a little bit of explanation on that.
Well, I think since there's a lot of interest in traffic, we're going to have our traffic expert on our next meeting. I don't think we have any. There has been a traffic study. We can probably point you to some of that data, but I think what we'll do is make that information available and perhaps put it on the website and so that people can take a look at it and then send us more specific questions. I'm sorry, we just don't have those folks from the team on with us tonight because we're focusing on construction startup.
And my other question about the traffic is, I know when we're meeting with Jean, I'm on the planning board in Middleborough. They were talking about the intersection of 105 and 28 heading west, taking that area after the lights that turns into a 2-lane, heading to the crosswalk device and taking it back to 1 lane. And you know, that traffic going westbound flows pretty good with the current setup. And I just have a lot of concerns about if that section is going to be brought down to a 1-lane road going west, about how that traffic is going to affect the traffic flow, which is already pretty good at that set of lights.
So I don't think that was part of our traffic study because it is out of the study area. Leanne, am I right about that?
You are correct about that. There were some initial traffic studies done. It was a few years prior to that. That environmental partners had looked at as well. And they did conclude that by taking away a lane at that point will not have an impact on bottlenecking traffic. I mean, I think Jean and I have had this conversation in the past. If I'm incorrect, let me know. But that's what I remember the discussion was about.
Yeah,
Jean's nodding yes. I'm sorry, Bob Campbell?
Yeah, so we did look at that, and it is a fact that the capacity of Route 28 in that area is controlled by the intersections, and 4 lanes going across the 2 railroad bridges are not necessary. But in this project, we are not changing that at all. That's going to be something that if the town wants to pursue a road diet is what they call it, then that's something they can certainly do later on with the MassDOT Highway District 5 office. And but at this point, we're not proposing that, and there seems to have been a lot of resistance to that too from the town. So it's not part of the project right now anyway.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Thought I had that one right. I see Robert LaChamoya. Robert, would you like to ask a question?
Okay, I have a significant railroad and zoning experience, and I can see the 40R district out my window. I have many questions. With one question allowed, I would like to get meaningful information on the relationship between the platforms and Road 28. I have walked the land going down the driveway from 28, and I observed in your, well, I've seen last Friday, I've gone by on the railroad, and it looks like you've excavated to 20 or 30 feet below 28. Your map seems to show a ramp from the current driveway to 28, but it also seems to show that at the western edge of the platform site. Will the driveway be the western edge? Or what's going on there? How does this relationship go? And will you have signage at 28?
Well, I can definitely say yes to the signage. Ken, is this a question that you could answer?
Sure. Along Route 28, we're going to be constructing a pedestrian sloped walkway that has a switchback design to get from the sidewalk grade on 28 down to our parking lot grade, and also a stair system. So it's there's accessibility path and a stair path down, but there will be no vehicular driveway off of Route 28.
So are you tearing down the current driveway and moving it?
Yeah, that whole sideline on Route 28 is going to be landscaped and changed. No vehicular driveway at all between those two bridges.
I'm trying to figure out where the pedestrians are coming. If you're not tearing down the existing driveway, you're moving it, at least according to plans. Are you moving it to the western edge?
No, there's going to be a walkway system built. There's no vehicular driveway.
Okay, so that driveway, which I've previously seen and which is still there, is going to get torn down.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think, Leanne, did you want to add something else? I see your hand up.
Oh, yes, it's not pertaining to this issue. I just wanted to expand a little bit on the person who had a question regarding traffic from Lakeville Hospital a little bit earlier. The Lakeville Planning Board has been holding public hearings for this project over the past several weeks and months. It started in December and their last one will be in March. Last Thursday's was specific to traffic. They had also filed an ENF, an environmental notification form, with the state where they had to submit all of their traffic information. The town of Middleborough did respond to that specifically to traffic, because that is, for that project, that is what would have an impact on our town. Through that hearing, at the end of that public hearing, the town of Lakeville did agree to prohibit any truck traffic through the town of Middleborough, only unless it was for specific local deliveries. So any truck traffic that is coming from that site will be directed onto Route 495, either north or south, and will not be allowed through local roads in Middleborough unless specifically for local traffic, for local deliveries. I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. We only have a few minutes left, and some people have asked many questions, and it's difficult to answer them all. You're certainly most welcome to send us those questions and we will answer them in writing. There are more questions about the additional noise that has resulted. And we are, I assure people, continuing to investigate that and going to try to get an answer back to the town, as well as Madam Chair talking about the town's actions on that. Let's see. Let's see. Tim Hazelton asked several questions, and I probably don't have time to address all of them, Mr. Hazelton, but we mentioned working with GATRA in Taunton. What about SRTA in New Bedford, Fall River? Definitely having conversations with all of the local regional carriers. And I think we've worked with SRTA over many years, so those conversations will continue. Jean, did you want to add anything about that?
I did just want to add that as part of our whole environmental review process, we had to do a feeder bus report. So that meant that for years we've had these discussions. And of course, as we've gone into phase one, we had to rekindle some of those discussions. But absolutely, those conversations are ongoing.
Okay, great. And will the schedule be reduced due to the longer trip times? No, I think the answer is no. I mean, preliminarily, we've said before, we don't know exactly what the schedule is, but no, that's not anticipated. And let's see. Sorry, just looking through questions that haven't been addressed yet. See if there are any that, okay, Mr. Frawley, if you can, we have only a couple minutes left. If you'd like a quick question.
Yeah, hi. I was listening to a very good interview today on NPR where actually Secretary Pollock was talking about a 68% reduction in businesses in Boston requiring their people to commute into the city. Keeping things like that and with the effect of the pandemic on the transit as a whole, does the South Coast Rail have any new ridership projections? Do they plan on getting any new ridership projections? Or are we still going to move completely forward with phase one of this project based on old, outdated information?
Jean, I see you nodding, so I'm going to let you address that one.
We absolutely are going to continue forging ahead with the project. The funding is there, the contracts are let. We do not believe that people will not get on transit once the pandemic is over. In fact, we already are seeing on some of the subway systems in Boston an increased ridership. Not capacity by any means. That's going to take time. We need our herd immunity. We need all these in place. And there will still be some people who will have a remote option. It just probably won't be full time. And Boston remains a mecca for all kinds of things: healthcare, education, business, finance. That will still be a desirable location for people to need to get to, visit, and come back. We also know that this project affords our region an opportunity to see economic development because of the redundancy and the reverse piece that we already are seeing as far south as Fall River and New Bedford, interest in development because of the connection that we're creating here. So we are forging ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Jean. There's a couple more phone numbers. The last three digits are 583. If that person would like to ask a question, and then we'll be winding up. If your phone number, yes. Hello.
Hi. I'm Kevin calling from Representative Strauss's office.
Oh, hello.
Hi. So thank you for holding this meeting. I just have one quick question. Concerning it's a bit granular, but it's on the station site. I'm looking at the portion of the track that connects at the Middleborough Secondary down to the existing Old Colony line heading south. Mm-hmm. So this would be the piece of track that would be used if, in the event, a shuttle to the Cape were being built. Is that going to remain active throughout this project? So it's not like something that would have to be taken offline and then rebuilt, correct?
Well, I'm looking for someone on the team who could address that question because I don't know that answer.
That'll remain active.
Active. There
Very
we are.
Good.
Active.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sorry we haven't gotten to everyone's questions. I think if you have questions, please, Emily, could we go back to the slide with the email address? I think that's one back. Yes, okay. I assure you that we will answer any questions that we receive at South Coast Rail at dot.state.ma.us. There's a lot of information on the website, historic documents, updates on construction, information about almost every aspect of the project. If you'd like more information, if there's something missing, please write and tell us what's missing and what you'd like to hear. I hear tonight that we really need to address the traffic issue. It's something that has been studied and there are reports about it. So we'll see what we can put together in terms of answering people's questions and going forward to making you feel comfortable. But let me thank you on behalf of the team for participating this evening, for being patient. You know, it would be much better to be in Middleborough and to be seeing you and to be able to answer these questions face to face. For everyone's good health, that's not happening. It doesn't mean that we don't take your concerns into consideration, and we'll do our best to get back to you with an answer. With that, I'm going to wish you a pleasant evening. Stay warm. It's going to get cold, and hope we see you next time in person, but if not, on a call, and we can have further conversations. Emily, thank you. I think you can sign us out.